Yum 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 yum.
Hi, welcome back to Galley of the Sun. So I guess I'm kind of the ice cream queen around here with the CREAMi and everything. And on our last video, I said that I was going to make ice cream sandwiches. Well, I had to try the recipe first because I'm not going to show you something that I haven't tried yet. I'm not like Mike. I don't do that. But I tried them. We loved them. It was amazing. So I've been asked to make them again, except this time double the recipe because they loved them that much. This is a little bit time consuming, so I suggest that if you guys really like ice cream sandwiches, double the recipe. So before this, I had made up 4 bases. I made a chocolate base and 3 vanilla bases because I'm going to make a tray of just vanilla and then I'm going to make a tray of vanilla chocolate. To get these started, you need anywhere from an 11 by 15 to this is a 13 by 17 because you're going to get basically 12 ice cream sandwiches out of each one of these. So you need kind of a big work surface. Plus, we're going to be using these the entire time. Not only are we going to bake on it, but we're going to freeze on it too, because you do have to go through the process of that. So to start, I have, and mind you, this is all doubled, 12 tablespoons of softened butter. I went ahead and made sure it was soft enough. I've got a cup of white granulated sugar, a half a cup of packed brown sugar, 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of dark chocolate Dutch processed cocoa, which in this case is the Hershey's dark chocolate cocoa. It is already Dutch processed. So 1.3 cups of milk, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I have a teaspoon of kosher salt and a teaspoon of baking soda. Now this is not gonna like really rise for you because you're gonna have that wonderful cakey ice cream sandwich chocolate on there. So don't expect this to rise a lot. But when we bake this, and you'll see, it will go from shiny looking to kind of dull looking, and I'll give you a shot of what that looks like. But we want to prepare our pans first. So the first thing we need to do is we need to put down parchment paper. This is really important, especially when you're talking about having all of this stuff on here. I make it a little bit bigger so that it can fit down in there. So you need to put that down. And then you need to take some cooking spray and just spray it because you don't want anything to stick to this. And one of the things that I learned with making the first batch was that a little trick that it doesn't tell you in the recipe of how to make sure that this stays when you roll it out, because it's a very, very sticky, thick dough, and I'm going to show you the best way to roll it out. So if you have one of these, this is a vintage Pampered Chef pizza dough, pie dough roller. If you don't have one of these, you can use a small roller. You can get the new one. The other thing that you'll find that is really handy is one of these dough scrapers. This one actually is from Blackstone. It's made for scraping the Blackstone too, but I use it a lot for this. You'll see why this will come in handy when we get to that point. So let me get this other one done. I have my oven heating to 350. Now, each one of these trays is only going to be in there for about 10 minutes. That's all the baking time on this. And you'll be like, well, that seems like an awful lot of short time, but it's really not. It's just enough. And if you want to keep it from moving around some, you can actually spray a little bit on your pan and then put the parchment paper back down on it. And then when we put this on here, it helps to keep it from moving around. And you see how it just helps keep the parchment paper kind of stuck to it? Isn't that kind of cool? Kind of like putting a wet paper towel down or wet towel down when you don't want your cutting board to move. Okay, now we're going to go to the first part of it. So we're going to take all of the dry ingredients and we're going to put them in a bowl. And we're going to whisk all of those together. We're going to put everything but the sugars of the dry ingredients together, because the sugars are going to get creamed with the butter and the vanilla. And we're going to cream those together with a hand mixer. You can use a stand mixer, but I'm using the hand mixer with the clear Pampered Chef large batter bowl just so you can see what I'm doing here. But you see when I do this, I'm getting this all mixed together really well because we want to make sure that all the flour from underneath gets mixed in with all the cocoa, that it all comes out this nice kind of brown color. And using the CREAMi to make your ice cream, because this recipe actually came with a recipe for ice cream, but using the CREAMi is great because once you spin it, it is about the perfect consistency that you need to be able to spread this on these cake sandwiches. And here in this bowl, I've got the butter. It's already softened. If you're like me, I didn't take it out soon enough, so I actually had to run it through my microwave. It's got a softening function on it, which is great. So I did that. So I just put 2 sugars in there. And we're gonna cream these together. So you're kind of seeing that it's like, oh, you know, that's kind of like you're almost making a cookie there. Well, yeah. If you've ever had an ice cream sandwich, you're almost thinking that that's a cookie, but this will not get hard like a cookie. It stays that nice, soft, what you would buy in the store ice cream sandwich versus if you make cookies, those can tend to get really hard when you freeze them. These don't. These still stay nice and pliable and soft and give you that great mouthfeel. Now I started this off on low just so that I could kind of get things mixed in, but we're gonna go up and we're gonna put it on high and we're gonna get this cream together really well. And I'm gonna go ahead and add the vanilla in. And this can take a couple of minutes, so don't worry about that. We're just gonna get it creamed up really well. We are not done, but I wanna scrape the bowl, make sure I'm getting everything incorporated, all of the butter and all of the sugar. And I do this in the larger bowl because it is a little better for when we go to add in everything else. Get that, go back up on high. Because we almost wanna kind of like whip it a little bit. We know it's gonna look grainy, but we need it to expand, get a little bit of air in there. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this off. That is looking pretty good. You see that that's kind of whipped, it's a little expanded. It does look a little grainy, but that's what you're gonna get with the sugar. So now we're gonna add about half of this dry flour, cocoa, salt, baking soda mixture. Gonna mix that in a little bit, just on low speed, because I don't want it to like shoot all the flour and cocoa everywhere. Okay, and I'm gonna add about half the milk. And again, this is where you stop and you scrape down the sides a little bit, make sure everything's getting incorporated. Whoops. Let's pick that up off there. There we go. You can see it's a pretty thick dough, but I'm just kind of getting it just incorporated in there. Okay. And that looks like it's kind of incorporating it all. And this is one of the reasons why I like using these glass bowls, is because I can see all the way down to the bottom. Make sure I'm getting all of the little bits at the bottom incorporated. Okay. You can see it's turning nice and creamy. So we're gonna add in the rest of the flour cocoa mixture. Again, we're gonna start on low, get this all kind of incorporated a little bit, and then I'll add the milk. And you're probably like, well, that doesn't seem to make a lot. Well, it doesn't. When you're thinking about these are only thin, so you don't need a ton of the dough. And yeah, a bigger bowl would probably help, but we've started here, we're gonna see this through. We'll just be careful so it doesn't fling everywhere. So I am going to get some of that cocoa mixed flour mixture down in there. Now, if you want to use one of the flavors that I made on one of my other ice cream videos, I would suggest the peppermint, the white chocolate peppermint bark would be an excellent one on this. Or maybe even the Butterfinger would be a good one. Even the peppermint chip would be good. Or the Java in this. Now I'm going to make these pretty much plain, but maybe I'll show you where we can go in and do like some candies around the edges and make some of these kind of special. Okay, so that looks like they're getting mixed pretty well. And you can see where we're at here. This is a big, thick, heavy dough. So Pampered Chef has this great little tool. If you haven't gotten one of these are awesome. But it's a little scraper that will go down and scrape through all of your little beater blades. I think maybe Tupperware might have one too, I'm not sure, but they are awesome because it allows you to get inside the beater blades. Now there's no egg in this, so I could actually taste it. Anything chocolate. Yum.
Yum 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 yum.
If you happen to take a taste of it, just like I did, you will find that it tastes exactly like you remember from those store-bought ice cream sandwiches. And I'm just gonna come through here and make sure that I've got it all mixed through. Yes, it is all mixed through. And you can see how thick and all that dough is. So it's not like a cake batter, and it's not quite a cookie batter. It's kind of an in-between. So at this point, I'm gonna take half of this, and I'm just gonna put a big dollop in here. Now this is where I learned that I have to do a little trick with this when it comes to rolling this out as thin as you need to get it. Because you're gonna get it 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick when this is all spread out. This is where having the extra parchment comes in handy. I'll just get a big piece out, big enough to cover your sheet. And at this point, we are gonna spray this parchment. And if you do your pie crust this way or other doughs this way, this is what we're doing. I am just putting this over here, and I'm using my hands at first to kind of smush it out. Because this stuff is really sticky. And then I'm going to use this roller because I want it out to the edges. Now, if it starts to go up the edges some, we're going to have to kind of like press that back down because we need it actually in here and not going up the sides. So there we go. You can see I have it going up the sides a little bit, so we're just going to press that down. You'll probably have to wash your hands quite a bit like I am doing, but that's okay. But we want to get it pressed into this and try to get it kind of as even as possible. And like I said, not so much up the sides because you can't really use those. We need it down on the bottom. So unlike a pie crust, we just need this on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to remove this piece of parchment because we're going to use it when we do the next one. You can see if it comes up a little bit, I just want to scrape it down a little bit. Okay. We're going to use that on the next one too. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is all kind of down from the side. And you can see it's kind of sticky. Now this is what I was talking about when I said that it would go from a shiny to a dull. Is right now this dough looks really shiny. Yes, I know part of it is from the Pam that I sprayed, but part of it is really the dough. But this is the best way to get this in here without having like this stick everywhere. Because if you can see me touching this, it is a very, very, very sticky dough. And you don't want to add more flour to it or anything because you need it like this to stay pliable. So this one is ready to go in the oven. So I'm going to set a 10-minute timer and we're going to put this in the oven. And then I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out while I do the other one. So when we are done here, I'm gonna have at least, at the very least, 24 ice cream sandwiches. Now, if you cut them smaller, could you get more? Sure, make them kid size. If you want them bigger, you're gonna get fewer, but you know, I know for a fact you can get at least 24 or 12 out of each batch, so 24 out of this double batch. All right, so that is ready to go in when that comes out. Whew, fogged up the glasses a little bit. So this is what you're looking at, and you can see I got a small little thin spot there, but that's okay. But you see how all the shiny went away? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave this to 10 minutes on the pan, and then we're gonna pull it out and put it on a cooling rack, but don't put your pan away because you're gonna use it again. So it hasn't been quite 10 minutes for the one that we just took out of the oven. But like I said, it went from shiny to kind of that dry, cakey look, which is exactly what we're looking for. So what I'm gonna do first is we're just gonna take this up, and this is why I leave my parchment a little bit thicker, and I'm gonna just slide it over here to cool all the way. And that'll take maybe 20, 30 minutes. And you can see I got a small thin spot right there, but that's okay, because these are homemade. They don't have to be absolutely perfect. This a little bit, I'm not gonna worry about cleaning it all of the way until we get done. But I do wanna wipe it down, because once I have them both out of the oven and cooled all the way, I am going to put them into the freezer for about an hour. Make sure they get good and frozen, and then we'll pull them out and start constructing our ice cream sandwiches once we pull them out. So I might have a problem with this corner over here of getting it a little thin, because this one is a little thin. I probably could have put a little bit more dough on that one. So if you want to make sure you have an even, you may want to make 2 separate batches of dough to even it out between the two. But I'm going to set this over here to cool for about 10 minutes, and then we'll put it onto a cooling rack, let it cool for about 30, and into the freezer for another hour, and then we'll start constructing everything. So I'll see you back here in probably about an hour and a half. All right, so it's been an hour and a half. First things first is we're gonna go ahead and spin up our ice cream bases. Like I said, I have a chocolate and 3 vanillas, because I'm gonna do 1 set in chocolate and vanilla and 1 set in just the vanilla. I have that scraper cutter here. Now what I didn't show you is right before I put those into the refrigerator, I cut them right down the middle this way, so that I had 2 rectangles. Let's get started on getting these done. This is gonna take a couple of minutes. And then I will bring out the first one and show you how we put it all together. So while this spins, I'm gonna go get one of those trays of the cookies. Okay, so the metal cookie sheet is like really, really cold, because I pulled it out of my deep freeze. And you see that I cut it in half. You see I've got 2 nicely frozen sheets. Here's the trick with this. I'm gonna set this aside. We're gonna flip this over, and then we're gonna use this as a cold sheet to work off of. Now this is gonna be loud, so I'm gonna be speaking over it. So you see that this is nice, like spreadable consistency. Now, if you don't wanna make your own ice cream from the CREAMi, you don't have to, you can buy. You just need to let it sit out a little bit so that you can get this spreadable consistency. I happen to like using my CREAMi. I think it makes amazing ice cream. And the reason it's going to use the full 2 pints, and it may not look like a lot, but it's going to use the full 2 pints because you got to get that nice center thick base between the 2 sandwich layers. Okay, because it's ice cream. And we all know how we love ice cream in this house. Now, if you want your center layer thinner, use only one, but you will end up with a very thin center. If you want to change up your flavors and go with a strawberry one, make some strawberry ice cream or get some strawberry ice cream and do this. I prefer using my CREAMi. Like I said, I think it makes some of the best ice cream we've ever had. And it does. It takes a little bit to spread it around, but that's part of why we're working on this frozen cookie sheet. Because it helps keep everything nice and cold so it doesn't all melt away on you. And you notice I'm only spreading it on one side. And that's because this side is going to get flipped over to make the top. We're trying to get kind of an even layering on here, and that's not exactly the easiest thing to do, but we're going to work on it. So using this frozen cookie tray is kind of like what Cold Stone does with their frozen marble sheets. Is it just keeps everything nice and cold so that you're not worried about things completely thawing on you as you're mixing and doing things. Now, at this point, if you wanted to put an add-in in here, or say you wanted to do a mix-in before you spread your ice cream on, you could do that when you're using the CREAMi. If you wanted to put caramel in here or some chocolate sauce in here to help it, you could do that too. You can make them how you are. I'm just showing you the basic vanilla ice cream one right now. So then we're just going to take this half and we're just going to fold it right on top like that. And I kind of press it together a little bit and try to make sure that my ice cream is kind of filling in all the little holes. You know, just as best as you can. It's going to squish a little bit later. So I've got it like this. We're just going to wrap it like this. I'm going to put it back on this tray. And we're going to pop it back in the freezer so that that ice cream in the center can harden up some before we cut it. Now I want to make this one half chocolate and half vanilla. Now when I get done with these, I'm going to be cutting across this way and then this way. I'm going to do a thing of vanilla, and chocolate, Or I may just do a thing of vanilla on each end and chocolate in the center, since I'm going to have, it's going to cut down the middle. That way each one of these ends up being half chocolate, half vanilla. Might be a small chocoholic. All right, we're gonna flip this over on it. And we're gonna put it back in the freezer again, just like the other one, for about a half an hour. But working with this cold keeps the whole thing cold, so that is excellent. We're just gonna set that right on there. I will see you back in a half an hour. I'll show you how we cut these and package them. All right, so it's been that half an hour. One of these has been able to sit for a little while. And you see that I have some things out here. I have some mini chocolate chips. I have some mini M&Ms. I have some mini Crunch BB things and some mini Reese's Pieces. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this, and I'll show you how we cut it. And then I'm gonna take the sides and do them in the sides. Now, you see that I've also cut some wax paper here to wrap them in, and I've got some tape to close that wax paper So they'll all be individually wrapped for in the freezer for grab and go, just like a regular store-bought ice cream sandwich should be. So what I usually do here is I'll cut this down the middle, and this is where having one of these dough scraper cutters really comes in handy, because you got a nice straight cut. Now you can use a knife for this if you want. That is just fine. And then I try to kind of score this like this so that I know I'm getting like 6 sandwiches out of it, out of each side. And then down the center. And then we'll get 12 ice cream sandwiches. But you see how nice and easy that makes this? So I'm going to take one of these center ones here. See, they come up. You've got nice ice cream sandwiches, and we're going to go and see what we can get around the edges, get it to stick to some of that ice cream. And there we go. And we put it in one of these, and we wrap it up. And then I just take a piece of tape like you would wrapping a present, which works good because, you know, we're in the Christmas season right now. And just tape that on there, just enough to hold it. And then these are ready for the fridge. And I just patted that in there a little bit just so that we can make sure that it's in there. Oh, all my M&Ms are going everywhere. And there you go. There's ice cream sandwiches for you. So, if you like what you've seen here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you know when our next one's coming. If you have a suggestion for something else for me to do, I kind of am the ice cream queen here. I'm also kind of a dessert queen here. Let me know. I'll see what I can do to help make those videos for you. Until then, see you later on Galley of the Sun.